took me to the spot he wanted to marry me and told me how many kids we would have together on our first date. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this episode is going to be all about dating in the good old state of Utah. And if you're from here, that story doesn't sound too disfamiliar because, well, it's the culture here. If you are from Utah, it's a great place. I don't apologize for Utah because I think it's a great place. A lot of people come here and they stay here because they love it, because it's great. And fun fact, it is actually the 5th safest place to date. So we've got some things going for us, but we also have some crazy weirdos here, and the culture with dating is weird. Why? Here's a couple things you should know if you're not from the state. We get married fast, we get married young, and a lot of us get married. Why do people get married so young and fast here? Well, part of it is the culture that came from the LDS Church. So if you're not familiar, basically the nuclear family and marriage is very important, and you're trying to find your eternal companion, someone you're bound with not just for life, but for eternity. So it's something that's kind of expedient and important. And it's kind of the base for a lot of the religion. Just for those who are not familiar, you're from Utah, I'm sure you already know all of that and you can skip past this, whatever. Also, another thing is a lot of people wait for marriage. I waited for marriage, and I did it for a whole year. I waited a whole year, which is a long time. And so you have to understand, if you're not from here and you go, that's so crazy to get married so fast. You just have to think of it in terms of out of state, people just move in with each other in the same time frame typically. Maybe with more time, but just think of it in terms of moving in together, and that's probably more what it's equivocal to. People also get married people also get divorced very young here. So it's kind of like marriage is more serious and also less serious in some ways. I got divorced even though I waited a whole year. I did it for a whole year. But if you were waiting for marriage, like, you can't have, schmoozing time. Like, it's hard, okay? And I'm not encouraging anyone to get married young, but like, people are so shocked when I've worked with people on set who are like, how did you get married so young? And it's like, well, I don't know, like, how did you not? How did you not? Anyways, not pro young marriage, but also it works a lot of the time. Didn't work for me. No hate to anyone, young or old marriage, or quick or not quick marriage. But I will tell you, waiting a year was a long time in Utah. And the amount of comments that I got from people when I was going around with my wedding band, all like, ooh, I'm engaged. And they were like, when's the date? When are you getting married? And I was like, a long time from now. Oh my gosh, gasp, what? You're not gonna make it. Are you sure you guys are gonna make it? You sure you guys aren't cheating? You're not finding loopholes? You guys aren't soaking? You sure you guys aren't soaking? Are you guys soaking? Are you zipping? That's a new one I found out about, zipper zipping. Ugh. Sorry, no, I've never soaked. I don't want to soak. That's weird. That's so weird. Here's the thing. Here's the funny thing about people here is they will find loopholes to not have sex, where I'm like, you are still just having sex. Like, just be honest. Like, you just are. Like, even if it's not good sex, you still are having sex. So it's not really a loophole. You're just bad at it. like either don't have sex or do have sex, but don't lie to yourself and say, I'm just sick of people being on a pedestal about being a virgin when, like, it's like, I don't know. You're being a little disingenuous is all I'm saying when you've, like, if you're soaking, that is sex without movement. It's still sex. That's my hot take. There's my hot take. Take it or leave it. Calm down. Okay. Some co-regulation with you guys. I need to breathe. I'm getting riled up. Let's go into a couple of marriage and divorce statistics. Oh, real quick. There's more divorced women than divorced men in Utah. I don't know how that makes sense. Because that's not counting same-sex marriage. It's just counting heterosexual marriage. So there's one man to every woman. So where are all the men going? And I tested this theory in real life. I went around and asked all my guy friends and girlfriends, how many divorced women do you know? Okay, how many divorced men do you know? There's always more divorced women. There's always more divorced women. The guys move. Utah guys who get divorced move somewhere, or they pretend they aren't divorced or something. I don't know where they all go. Or maybe they all marry the same women? I don't know. If anyone has an answer to that, please let me know, because I'm so curious as to where they all disappear to. Or maybe they're just more private about it because it's less acceptable for a guy to be divorced. I don't think it is. I don't know. But I understand that I have a biased perspective because my following is female. Like, I'm going to know more divorced women. But even talking to guys, they also know the same amount of divorced women. It's very odd. One of the lowest divorce rates is surprising to me. Utah County has one of the lowest divorce rates of the counties in Utah, and I would have not have expected that. But I also feel like people get married in Utah County and then leave Utah County. So maybe they just get divorced. Maybe they just get divorced somewhere else. So maybe it's not actually that great. But if you're living in Grand or Carbon County, let me tell you, the news is bad for you. Your divorce rates are the highest in Utah, you guys. I don't know what's going on over there. Also, Ogden. Ogden is not doing too great. You guys get divorced. Specifically, Ogden gets divorced a lot. I don't know why. Last thing you should know about Utah, there's a lot of weddings. You want to know, in 2020, there were 27,566 weddings. And I can guarantee you that number is probably higher post-COVID, because I feel like everyone's getting married post-COVID. People are just pulling the plug. They're just doing it. Okay, world. So I had some of you lovely people submit on Instagram and to my email some of your worst, juiciest horror dating stories in Utah. And yes, we're keeping it to Utah because there is so much tea. You want to know what the one thing every person said to me that responded to my question about, tell me your dating stories? Every single person said, girl, I have so many more where this came from. But let me just tell you one. But I have so many more. How many stories? How many stories do you want? How many stories can I tell you? I have so many bad dating horror stories. So I have so many bad dating horror stories. So we've got plenty of content for just the state. So if you guys want to submit for other states, maybe we can do a part 2, or we should do a part 2 in Utah, just because I know there's more craziness. Before we get into the listener submitted stories, I want to go through some of my more faves this week real quick. We just have a couple. The Barbie movie. I actually haven't seen it yet. Don't give me spoilers, but I love Greta Gerwig and I have a feeling I'm going to like it. Number 2, Cal Newport's book. So good, They Can't Ignore You. If you haven't listened to him, he's great. His other book has changed my life. Give it a listen if you have Audible. I wish I had an Audible code. Maybe someday. Audible, shout me out. Give me a sponsor. Beauty faves, 2 things. If you like affordable beauty, I got you, girl, okay? Essence and Revolution. You can get them both at Ulta. The Revolution Concealer. This is the Conceal and Fix Ultimate Coverage. I have the one in medium sand. This thing I have used for like a year. It's still not gone yet. I went to go get a backup for when I do run out of this, and in case they discontinue it, because they also had a BB cream that I really liked that they discontinued, and now I'm scared. So Revolution Concealer, this thing is great if you have acne. If you don't have acne, it's very blendable. It's also very buildable. When I have breakouts, I use this thing, and it covers better than any concealer I have found, but it blends. It blends, and it can be thick, and it's just great. And it's so affordable. That's the best part. If you haven't heard of Essence Cosmetics, they're in like this tiny little corner in Ulta, but they are the most affordable brand that has the most dupes I have ever seen. So my favorite dupe, if you have ever used Too Faced Lip Plumping Serum, I don't remember what it's called, but I'm going to put it on right now. Too Faced Lip Plumping Serum, they have, Essence has a What the Fake Extreme Lip Plumping. They have them in 3 different colors. My favorite one is the one in the red. This is a great sheer red. It's a great lip plumper, similar to the Too Faced. Not quite as good, but almost there, but for way cheaper. So if, not all of us can afford Fenty or Rare Beauty or whatever it may be, definitely get this. When it tingles. Last more fave, fruit roll-ups. I don't know why I decided to have a resurgence of my favorite candy as a child that I was not allowed to actually have as a child, and it's probably fair because it's bad for you, but fruit roll-ups are so good. They're the goat, and they last for a long time, and it's like 45 calories or something. So I'm just a fan. Also, something to note. You guys know how Ariana Grande's voice has changed over the years, like her speaking voice. Like one day she sounds like her friends and another day she sounds like she's from a different country, but she also looks like different ethnicities all the time. That's how I feel like my voice is in this podcast until I get comfortable. It's just going to keep changing. One day it's going to be nice and subtle and ASMR-y, and the next day it's going to be abrasive and my voice is tired and I have anxiety and you can feel it. And other days, it's going to be Valley Girl. And I'm not trying to do that. It's just, depending on how I feel that day, it's going to show in my voice. And maybe no one else notices, and I'm just an actor. I'm hyper aware of that. But just so you know, I'm not trying to do that. And hopefully I'll get to a place where I'm not inconsistent. Or just pick one. I should just pick one. Just make one up. Or just always speak like this. Ooh, an unfave? This isn't even a category, but I've decided a big, more unfave is, have you guys seen on TikTok the NPC girls? That's like, ooh, let me ride it like a cowboy, popcorn. Have you seen that? Yeah. I don't know. If you haven't seen it, if you know, you know. If you don't, you're better off. Now we're moving on to more hot takes. We're going to talk about a hot take, discuss what you guys think, and then I'll give you my opinion on it. Let's go. The hot take of this week is, it's okay to hate follow someone you don't like on social media. Here's what you guys had to say. No, I love my block button way too much for that. Yes, they are content creators. You want to consume their content. Who cares? Yes, I have like 4 of these. Nice painless outlets for frustration and entertainment. No, why waste your time on something that isn't going to benefit you? Probably wouldn't hate them as much if you didn't. Absolutely, it's my own fault if I get my own feelings hurt. I did for a while, and honestly, they don't deserve the energy I spent disliking them. Amen. Yes, because I love being nosy and making assumptions about people. Maybe I'm the problem. Very self-aware. Yes, because you've got to keep life interesting. If that's who you want to be, sure, just don't comment or bully. Yes, as long as you're okay supporting them financially. Oh, that's a good one. Put your money where your mouth is. This comment is unrelated, but it says, not a hot take, but you need to know, if it was a competition with your ex, you 1000% won. I don't feel like I'm allowed to comment on that, but thank you. Not to be petty, but like, here I am. Just kidding. I have no idea. At the moment, I can't think of a reason why I would. Yes, fire emoji. Nope. This is a great one. I saw this one. No. Grocery store rule. I've never heard of this. The grocery store rule is, if you wouldn't approach them at a grocery store, you shouldn't be following them. Wow. Healthy girl era. That's amazing. Maybe not okay, but sometimes you subconsciously want to see them fail. Look, I'm not asking you guys like what the healthiest version of you is doing. I'm just asking what you actually do. Do you hate follow people? I know some of you do. And I'm going to get to my opinion on that. Yes, I do it just to watch, not to bully. It's okay. You're giving the other person engagement. Just don't be mean directly. No, it brings you down, takes up mental space you could use elsewhere and robs your peace. Morally, it's okay, but why set yourself up for frustration and annoyance? I personally don't, to protect my own peace. Absolutely okay. It's just like a train wreck. You can't look away. Maybe it's okay. Follow who you want, but it's certainly not, quote, healthy. Nah, number 1 brings negative energy into your day, and we need to be more supportive of others. Lol, I need to be better about this and follow the people who fill me lol, I need to be better about this and unfollow the people who fill me with rage. Yes, for the drama. As long as you're not bullying them, I think it's okay. I like to avoid people. I like to avoid ending up like certain people. That's pretty funny. No, it brings negative energy into your life. That's very true. Yes, because you're not harming anyone. No, because you're angering yourself for no reason. See, I see both sides. I see both sides of it. No, it makes you feel icky, and that person needs to have followers that support them. You are a better person than me. Here's my response to the hot take. Is it okay to hate follow someone you don't like on social media? Yes. There's nuance to that, but I'm only allowed to give a yes or a no, right? I think it's okay. I think it's technically okay. Is it the best? No. Is it the healthiest version of me? No. Is it helpful or productive? No. But there's a certain line you have to cross where I go, you did me dirty, then I'm kind of allowed to. I think there's certain people that I specifically do not hate follow, that I actively go out of my way to avoid because I know it's going to be really negative to my life. There's certain people that I tell people, I'm like, I don't want taps. I don't want to know. I don't care. Out of my life, out of sight, out of mind. It's not a part of my story now. I don't want to know about it. But there are like 2 people that I will admit, I used to not do this, but recently I gave in and I hate follow 2 people. And to be fair, one of them faked cancer. So, and did a bunch of stuff that I was like, oh, no, anyways, yeah. So I feel okay with that one where I'm like, you know what? Yeah. Once you do that, like flip off emoji, like you can't do that. You just can't do that. And then the other one, I can't even talk about because I decided, no, I'm not going to talk about it because that would be no good. But something happened to me. It didn't even happen to me recently. It's been something over the past couple of years that I didn't know about that was happening right in front of me. And it's literally boggling my mind and it's still happening. And that's why I follow this one specific person. Kind of, sort of. I'm not even trying to put this person I can't even talk about it. It just doesn't feel real. It's like the craziest experience, and only the people who are really close to me know about it because I can't justify, talking about it, gossiping about it. But anyways, long story short, this thing happened. When it first happened, I was really freaked out, really scared. I felt very violated, blah, blah, blah. I had a panic attack, which is not what I was expecting. I was like, whatever, it's fine. Like, weird, it's fine. And then I was like, it's not fine. I'm scared. This freaks me out. And yeah, I've sort of come to terms with it, but it's still something that I just go, how is this happening to me? Anyways, can't talk about it. So there we go. I just said not to talk about it. That's what I'm saying. So sorry for the anonymity. There's some very vague tea for you guys. Let's get into the stories from the listeners. Utah's worst dating stories. And let me tell you, this is just beginning. We might have to do part 2 because some of your guys' stuff is nuts. And I'm saving my story for the end because it's also crazy. And I found out more stuff about this person later on too. First story, let's go. This is from an anonymous user, but also love you. I know you followed for a minute and I'm so glad you submitted. Girl, I could talk to you for days about awful dates I've been on, but let me share a crazy one with you. I met this guy at a volunteer event for a children's organization. Already, like, where is this going, miss? He came up to me and asked me for my number, and he said he'd call me. I was super excited because I don't really ever get asked out. Fast forward a couple of days, and he calls me to ask if I want to go to a park with him. I say yes, and he takes me to a golf course. A golf course? Not to play golf, but just to hang out. This man hopped the fence, and I was already starting to feel uneasy. And he started talking about how he could do no wrong, ... I was already getting narcissistic vibes. So I spent the entire date trying to get clear answers from the guy, but all he would do was talk in riddles. After 2 hours, I still couldn't figure out what he did for work. After getting yelled at for trespassing on the golf course, go figure, he drove to a random hiking/climbing area, and we hiked up the hills for a little bit. And I tried to make conversation. I asked him, if you could learn any skill, what would it be? His answer, gouge my eyes out. I'm sorry. What? Gouge my eyes out. And then in my shocked silence, he felt it appropriate to mention that he really liked bratty girls who were virgins. Oh my gosh. I hadn't even said anything to prompt that. What is like, there's nothing I have to say other than the audacity. Like, what? Why would you, that couldn't be forced out of me. Like, I don't even agree with this sentiment, but like, if I was that, you couldn't get that out of me. You couldn't waterboard that out. Like, you couldn't. At the point, he threw his phone on the ground and it ended up shattering the screen. He said he was happy about it because he thought, now, every time I look at it, I'll think of you. I'm convinced this man is an actual sociopath. But by this point, I was so freaked out and the warning bells were blaring, so I lied. And I said my boss was calling to bring me into work early. I was incredibly and obviously frightened the whole time, but this guy felt no remorse. I quickly said goodbye and prayed that that was the end of it. But I'm not that lucky. The next day, he tried to call me while I was at work. I ignored it, and about 30 minutes later, my boss is telling me someone is here asking specifically for me. He showed up at my work. I was freaking out at this point, shaking in my boots. I walked up to him. He told me that he wanted to go out again. With all the courage I could muster, I told him we have very different personalities and it just isn't going to work out. His response, gosh, you are so attractive right now. Honestly, it's so hot to me. I wanted to shrivel up and die. But he followed that with, I understand though. You'll never have to hear from me again. My lovely boss came over to save the day, save me in that moment. But before this guy left, he turned to look at me and said, I pray our posterity meet and get married. I'm not even joking. This man is insane. What do you even say to that? What do you even say to that? I pray not. Like, I hope they get struck by lightning. I hope you don't procreate. Like part of me is baffled, but part of me is like, yeah, this checks out. Like, so, yeah. I'm not even joking. This man is insane. Thankfully, he's actually a man of his word. Oh, and I never heard from him again. I think it'll always be up there as my second worst date ever. The first, okay. The first being when I was R-worded, but that's a story for another day. Hinge dates are the worst. I'm so sorry. Oh. I have endless bad date stories, but that's probably my wackiest. Hope this helps with your podcast. You're such a lovely person. I'm always wishing I could be friends with you. Oh, that's so sweet. I feel so bad. I was like sitting here laughing and then it turned so dark and I'm so sorry. Oh, that is so rough. It is hard, man. Comedy in crisis, I guess, as we say, huh? I hope you're doing better. I hope you've gotten the help you need with that. I get it. It's that, yeah. Worst dates are bad, but that's the worst experience you could have on a date, of course. I don't know how to segue from that, but next story is Met this girl as an FSY counselor. We were both counselors summer of 2022. I'm guessing FSY is like EFY, which is especially for youth, which is a youth summer camp. Fill in the blank, you know. We made out within 4 days of knowing each other. True Aggie night at USU. Decided to be a couple at the end of the week and then broke up a month later after a long distance thing didn't pan out. Told each other we loved each other. After like 2 weeks of dating, a genuinely cringe-inducing memory, but it felt right in the moment. Then she broke up with me after her grandparents, whom I never met, decided they didn't like me, ? Honestly, kind of embarrassing that I let things go that fast and I got attached to her so quickly. Like none of my other relationships before or since have been so ridiculously fast. Welcome to Utah. Welcome to Utah. Was only in Utah for FSY, but the spirit of the Mormon Lightspeed relationship took over my body and turned me into the most desperate for relationship animal that I have ever been. Never before or since have I been that out of pocket or gone for the throat so aggressively and so quickly with a girl or had the breakup been so emotionally draining. I do think if we had let it develop naturally at a better pace, maybe it could have worked out. Hope she's doing good now and in a better place emotionally because I feel like I learned from it too. You live and you learn and you move on and you can laugh at yourself and make mistakes you make in dating sometimes. Okay, well, that's a more fun one. But I mean, what did you say? The spirit of the Mormon Lightspeed relationship took over my body. That's amazing. That's hilarious. All right. Thanks for sharing that one. That was fun. This is the shortest worst date story that I've had submitted, but I need more context. Please give me more context. All I have is once I was on a date with a guy who pooped his pants and 2 minutes after he tried to kiss me. True story. Did you kiss him? Did you kiss him? Was it good? Did you like it? Did it smell like what? Okay, my question was it still in there? Was he still? I'm sorry, this is turning to such a boy humor podcast, but like, I just want to know. Like, I'm nosy. Where I'm like, so what happened? Like, was there still poop in his pants? Was the dookie still dooking? Like, could you smell it? Like, what? Like, did he like just go fix it and then come back and try to kiss you? I don't understand. Had you guys kissed before? There's a lot we don't know. Here's a little dating story about triangulation and why it's not a good thing. This is not a horrendous story, but I went on 3 dates with a guy. When he made plans for the 4th, he suddenly ghosted me. And then he had our mutual friend call me to tell me that he wasn't ready for a relationship. And she says, like, why did you make loose plans? Why did you make these plans? I didn't make the plans. Why did you make them if you had to have your friend call me to tell me you weren't ready? What? Also, can we talk about a gripe I have, an unlike that I have with Utah dating? Specifically, I've experienced this with guys, where there are guys that will not date a girl who wears a bikini. And I'm like, look, whatever, that's fine. You do you. Not for me, but you do you. But a guy who won't date a girl who wears a bikini because he doesn't want to bring that type of girl around his family, but will also ask girls for nudes. Like the double standard of like, I don't want you to be immodest. I don't want you to be immodest, but I don't even know. I haven't even met you yet, and I'm going to ask you for nudes. Like, you can't show your shoulders, but send me nudes. A man who doesn't know you. What? I hate it. I hate it. Where I'm like, look, if you want a girl that is comfortable and shows off her body, or if you want a girl that is comfortable and modest, both of those things are fine. But like, you're pretending you want something that you don't actually want, or you're trying to get a girl to be both instead of just letting a girl be who she is. I don't know. What? Ew. They're, it's just like the guys who will like shame a girl for being immodest and then ask for the nudes the next day. Like, you cannot shame a girl for being immodest and then ask her for nudes. You just can't. You can't. I went on a date with a guy from Tinder when he kept asking me about serial killers. And then he proceeded to drive me to the middle of nowhere. And he refused to take me home. He didn't take me home until I mentioned that I knew how to rip an ear off. I'm sorry, how often is this happening? There are multiple, like, murderous things. Maybe I take it back. Maybe Utah is not the 5th safest place to date. Maybe it's just unreported. Like, what is going on? Took a guy from a different town to Hoko. He pretended he liked me, then proceeded to ask for my friend's number. Then they started dating. Her and I had an adult convo about it. He then told me he knew we were, quote, clashing over him, and I kept trying to tell him how I felt. I'm sorry, I'm just not a fan of homie hoppers. No. It's the worst thing that I and my friends have experienced when someone slides into your DM or someone responds to you on Tinder and asks for like one of your friends' numbers. Like, just don't do it. Like, I think my friends are beautiful and amazing. I also think I'm beautiful and amazing. Do I want any of that happening to any of us? No. Like, it's just rude. Don't do it. This girl has got multiple little short stories. Horrible. This is one of her first dates. My parents showed up at the restaurant and sat by us on my first date with this guy. I was on a date when I ran into a past date who threatened my current date if he ever looked at me again. I was on a date with a guy when he saw his ex and got up, went to her, and got back together with her in front of me. I hope you weren't dating this guy for a long time because that would break my heart. The date starts with, sorry, 1 second. Let me break up with my girlfriend real quick. Oh my gosh. I had a date confess to me that he was a white supremacist and part of the Proud Boys. What even is the Proud Boys? Do I want to look this up? I'm going to look this up. What are the Proud Boys? Wait. The Proud Boys is an exclusively male North American far-right neo-fascist organization that promotes and engages in political violence. Oh my gosh. What? This is horrible. On a first date, he told me I was too skinny and then took me grocery shopping and made me pay for it because I was too skinny. What? The explicit words that I want to shout right now. Do you want to move to Utah yet? Has this convinced you? It's a fun time. It's a good time. Now, I wasn't able to get to everyone's stories. Thank you to everyone who submitted. I've had a great time looking over these. I also feel some type of way about some of the things you guys said. I think I'm re-traumatized. Nothing to make me hate dating more than hearing a bunch of horror stories. So I think I need to go read a romance to refresh myself. But before I do that and cleanse myself of all this, I'm going to tell you one of my worst dating stories in Utah. Are you guys ready for this? Okay. I met this guy who seemed kind of cute, seemed totally normal, charismatic, nice, seemed like a gentleman. I met him in person first. This wasn't from a dating app, so I thought that's a green flag. Like, I've met him first. We were vibing. He asked me out, and I was like, score. He shows up at my door. This is like the next week or something. Picks me up. I'm so excited. We get in the car. His demeanor changes. I'm like, weird vibes. Instant weird vibes. I don't think I've ever had a date where I felt such strong, like demonic. Like I felt like I was going to throw up. I was so confused, but I didn't have a way to make sense of it. I just knew. I was like, oh, I don't, something's wrong, but maybe it's just me. I assumed it was just me. I gaslit myself, whatever. This guy proceeds to ask me, what's the hardest thing I've experienced in my life? And I was so confused. I was like, wow, you're just starting off right away with that. Well, you asked my favorite color first. Like, what color is my toothbrush? What do I do for work? No, it was, what's the hardest thing you've experienced? And he didn't ask in a way of like curiosity. He was like aggressive with it. And I was like, you're coming at me with a weird energy. What's the hardest thing I've experienced? And I was like, well, honestly, I've had challenges. I've really had a great life and I have so much to be grateful for. I don't really know that I could rate it that way. Like, I don't think I even really answered the question. I was kind of confused by it and just kind of danced around it because I was like, what is this guy's intent? And he starts to just go off on a rant. He starts to go off on a rant about all of these horrible things in his life and how his life is so hard. And then I would try and like validate, like, wow, that sounds really hard. I'm so sorry, in response to his stories. And then he'd get mad at me. Like, you don't even understand. Your life isn't as hard as mine. You would never experience something as hard as I've gone through. What have you even experienced that's hard? And I was like, I mean, I've experienced a lot of hard things, but it's not a competition. Like, I'm not pitting myself against you. I don't know why you're trying to do this. I'm confused. And he kept digging in and asking me, like, what is you definitely haven't gone through something as hard. You don't even understand. You're just stupid because like you haven't experienced life. You don't understand. He just kept saying the same thing over and over again. And I would just respond like, yeah, I mean, I don't understand your exact experience, but I can put myself in someone else's shoes, or like I've also experienced sadness or grief and similar feelings in my own context. And he would just get more mad at me. And I was so confused. Like, what is going on? And I didn't understand like gaslighting terminology. This was pre-TikTok. Like, no one knew about that. Like, I tried to give one example. I gave it and was like, well, I went through this and this was really hard. And it made him even more mad, where it was like, you see, exactly. You will never go through something as hard as me. And he made it like a weird competition where it made me feel really bad. I thought like something was wrong with me because I hadn't experienced the same depth of things. I don't know. So anyways, but I was young and confused and just kind of assumed I was doing something wrong or like making him feel bad because like maybe my life wasn't as hard as it should have been, which, I know now as an adult that's silly, but anyways, he like starts driving and he wants to take me somewhere special, which I should have, ran away at that point, but I didn't. And guess where he pulls up? Classic move, classic Provo boy, to the temple. And guess what he tells me? We're going to get married here. This is where we're going to get married. You and me. First date. Oh my gosh. I was frozen. Like, I didn't know what to do. Like, when something is so shocking and so weird and someone is so convicted about these crazy things that they're telling you, like, you don't know how to, like, you're just in shock. It's like being in a car accident. You freeze. I freeze. So I know you're looking at that going, Monica, why didn't you like slap him upside the head? But like, I didn't know what to do. I was young. And I was just kind of like, haha, how would you know that? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Anyways, he starts going off talking about our future and where we're going to get married. He tells me how many kids we're going to have. And then he tells me on the third date, I remember this specifically, I'm going to take you to the front porch and I'm going to kiss you for the first time. And your parents might be watching and it'll be great. And I was like, that's the one thing I knew for sure wasn't going to happen because I never kiss anybody on the third date. Like, that was the one thing in my little brain that was like, I know that's not true. And so I just was like, yeah, I want to go home. I'd like to go home. Anyways, so it was this weird conversation on the way home of just him going back and forth between like being mad at me for not having a life as hard as his. Oh my gosh. Also, this guy at the time, I completely forgot. He was like a singer. He was like an aspiring singer. He made it seem like he had a bunch of fans, but I don't think he actually did based on like looking at his social media. But also his social media is confusing because he had like multiple different Instagram pages that were like all different names, and I was really confused. And also there were Facebook. So like there were definitely things I found out later on. I was like, who is this guy? I don't even know this guy's real name because he has all these different aliases. But he just like shat on all of his fans, all of the girls that were following him. And yeah, they're such idiots. They're so dumb. I have them in the palm of my hand. They're supporting me. They're going to make me famous. And they think I like them, but I don't give a blank about them. And they're just so stupid. And I just was like, well, I don't, if they heard you felt that way, like, I don't think they'd be your fans anymore. Like, if you were a fan of someone and you heard them say that about you, how would that make you feel? And he just thought it was like hilarious. And he wouldn't listen to any reason of like, that's not really okay. He just like was invigorated by the idea of all of these fans being duped. So that was also a huge red flag. Anyways, I was done with the date. I didn't want to be there. Asked to go home. Was like, it's getting late. Huh? Let's go home. We just like sat in front of the temple. But I was like, definitely not marrying you here. And then got home. He dropped me off. I don't remember if he tried to kiss me or not, but dropped me off. And then like the next day texted me telling me that like he had revelation from God that we were meant for each other and that he just has this strong prompting that he knows that like we're meant to be. All these like vague spiritual promptings and godly impressions that he said he was getting. And I would just kind of wave it off like, oh, well, I haven't really gotten that message from God. So I don't, I don't really know how to make sense of that because I haven't gotten that. And I kind of tried to say like, I don't really want to go on a second date. I'm not really interested. And then he just proceeded to keep texting me and calling me. And then I blocked him. And then he started reaching out on Instagram. And that's how I found out he had a different Instagram than I thought he had. And anyways, every time, I just remember vividly, every time he would reach out to me, like I just got this lurching feeling in my gut that was like so gross feeling. And I'd never had that so strongly from anybody from like the get-go. Usually it's like later on as you date them that, they kind of like switch and you kind of, the mask falls off. But with him, like, oof, I feel like God was protecting me because like, I don't know if I would have been able to handle his abuse because clearly there were some issues there. And then years later, I found out this same guy essayed a mutual of mine as well as other girls. And now I have no idea where this man went. He's fallen off the face of the planet. I can't find any trace of him. But yeah, he clearly trust your gut is all I'm saying. Sometimes you don't know in the beginning. So, I got married and got divorced because I ended up in a DV situation. So of course I'm not blaming anyone if they end up experiencing abuse, because it's never your fault. But I definitely with him was lucky enough to have some gut feelings that were telling me, no. But yeah, I don't know, something about, I was like, let me tell a funny story, but now it's just kind of creeping me out. So sorry about that. Anyways, that's my story. I have some other crazy Utah dating stories, but that's the one that was probably the most outlandish in my experience. If you guys have any more, please submit to that'smorelikeitpodcast@gmail.com. I would love to do a part 2 of some of your crazy stories. I love the longer ones. Please send through email because Instagram's a little bit trickier. They get broken up and it's hard to read. So if you can email, I would love that. Also, the Do More Challenge, we didn't brush over this in the beginning, but it was to make your bed every day. Checking on you guys. I'm going to have a new Do More Challenge next week on the pod. But the goal this past month was to make your bed every day. I did a pretty good job of it. I did it almost every day. But let me tell you one thing. I've gotten to the point with making my bed where not making it is more painful than just making it. And I think that's where I want to be. I think that's where I want to get at with my healthy habits, is getting myself to a place where not doing the healthy habit is more painful than just doing it, than just getting it over with, than just, checking it off the list. And that's how I feel with making my bed, where it's now gotten to the point where it is a habit. And when I don't do it, my equilibrium is off. And so, yeah, I think that's going to be my new mantra, is making my habits so easy and effortless and consistent that the pain of the absence of it is worse than the pain of doing it. So that's my little tidbit to leave with you guys. Thanks again for tuning into That's More Like It podcast. I appreciate anyone who is listening. It truly means a lot. If you can leave a rating below, whether you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, whatever it is, because ratings are everything. Give me a review, good or bad. Give me the feedback. I would love to hear. I've already taken some of your guys' feedback on a couple of things, and so I'm really working to improve this and just make it better. It's been a long time coming, and I just really appreciate those who have really tuned in to listen, because I understand, it takes time. It takes time, and there's so many things that could take your attention. So the fact that you're taking the time to listen to something from me does genuinely mean a lot for those of you who are still listening right now. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.
This was a Titan Media Collective production.
Hi, best friend.
Hi.
Oh my God, are you okay?
Yeah, just having to do this promo that you're making me do, but it's okay.
Yeah, same. I have to do it too. Hi, best friend.
Hi, best friend.
I'm Kelly.
I'm Kelsey.
And our podcast is Good Luck, Everyone Else.
Someone told us 7 years ago that we were funny enough to start a podcast, so here we are, finally getting around to it.
We don't know what we'll say or what we'll get into, but we can say we release every Friday. So hang out with us then. We're available wherever you get your podcasts. Good luck.